I'm very proud to introduce this man that I've been following for many years. Every time I get health advice from my mother, she sends me an article, and it's from Dr. Joseph Mercola. She was so thrilled to hear that he's speaking at our conference. He is a best-selling author, has written tons of articles, books. He's a doctor of osteopathic medicine. They went after him hard during COVID because he was right. He has a best-selling book as a result called The Truth About COVID-19. So once again, he got his revenge. And what a total honor to introduce to you Dr. Joseph Mercola.
Well, thank you, Chris, for those very kind words, and it's a great privilege to be here this morning. I was a bit surprised when I came in and asked Daniel, who do I give the PowerPoint slides to? And he said, there is no PowerPoint. So this is my first extemporaneous presentation, no notes. So anyway, I'm delighted, beyond delighted, to be able to be here in a room of courageous people. Such a great privilege. I want to give you an example of the type of courageous people here. Before I came up, the person in charge of recording this event, Mike, in the back there, you can stand up. This is an example. Like many of you, I'm sure, because I have not had the privilege and opportunity to connect with only but a small fraction of you today, and last night. He was told he needed to take the jab or he would lose his job. How many people do you know who said, okay, roll up my sleeve, take the jab? He didn't, and he lost his job. That takes bravery. That's the type of bravery and courage we all need. No question. So, I don't know how many of you know what I do, but Chris suggested or mentioned that I took a little heat during COVID for writing the truth, and I've written a number of books. I've been passionate about it, absolutely passionate about health and technology for over 50 years, probably 55 years. It drives me. I want to know the truth. I want to know how to be biologically healthy. And how do you do that? You do that by following what the judge said and just eloquently expressed to us is following natural laws. Medicine has been taken over, controlled by primarily the pharmaceutical companies and derivatives of petroleum. I live in Florida. I grew up in Chicago, went to Catholic school. I actually learned the Mass in Latin because I was an altar boy. But I got wise when I grew up, and I moved to Florida. And I live in a town called Ormond Beach. Why is that important? Because the man who started Rockefeller Medicine spent most of his life there and died in Ormond Beach, about a mile from where I live. And that is a catalyst for why there's such destruction. They control it. It's all about pharmaceuticals. There are many people here who are physicians themselves or know people who are. And that's what you are taught in medical school. You are taught protocols to understand biology and diagnose and prescribe medications or surgical interventions. Never, never, never to address the foundational cause of disease. And I've known for many years. Well, let me go back a bit. I'm sorry for going back and forth. Actually, I've got to keep time, Jeff. I've got to, because I'm going to go over, and I know I'm not going to go over, so let me get this up. Okay. Can someone give me 5 minutes? Chris, can you give me 5 minutes? Because I normally have the slides, and I just, want a timer so I can wrap it up. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. Sorry, this is not prepared, as I said. So, lost my thought.
You're doing fine.
Well, thank you. Protocols. Oh, well, they prescribing protocols. So that's what the process is today. And I have written many books, 18 best-selling books, all of them best-selling. Many of them New York Times bestsellers, until they thought I was a threat. So they stopped, even though I write a book that's the #1 book sold by metrics, by Wall Street Journal, USA Today, Publishers Weekly, never makes the New York Times list anymore. And in fact, I have a lawsuit against the New York Times for the discrediting they did, because many of you may not know, the biggest honor I ever achieved in my life, ever, was being named the #1 source of misinformation in COVID. Bobby Kennedy was #2. Incredible. And I remember, after that went out, seeing the New York Times posted, it was done by a front group for the cabal named, I forget their name, it was, I forgot, but it was actually, we'll go somewhere else. So CNN didn't want to be ousted by the New York Times, so they sent out a crew to my office. They found out I don't work at the office, I work at my home, so they found out somewhere I live. I walk on the beach at solar noon every day, and I ride my bike to the beach, and I thought, oh, there's this car, it's weird, there's 2 cars, they're like SUVs, and their engines are running, and there's people in them. I thought that was interesting. And then when I returned from my walk at the beach, they're there, they had stalked me. And I'd like to show the video, but we're not going to show that. And it was entertaining because they were quizzing me, and I just kept quiet because I know any word I would say, they would take around. But then I realized after I left, all I had to say was, I'd be glad to answer your questions. Why I don't think I'm killing people by telling them not to take the jab. But you're not wearing a mask. I didn't say that, though. So that was good. But it did bring me a lot of prominence. And the book was #1, never made the New York Times, but it was the best book sold in the U.S. for 2 weeks. And that book, and every book I've written previously, is nothing. It is not the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg of what I've compiled. I've been working on ever since that book. It's the culmination of 5 decades of my search for understanding what is the reason why we all get sick and die prematurely. Now, we're all going to die, but most of us die needlessly with pain and suffering because we don't understand the natural laws. And I'm going to hopefully provide you in the limited time I have today to have a brief understanding of that, and even more important, resources that you can dive into to apply this to yourself, your family, your friends, and your loved ones. That book is your guide to cellular healing. It comes out in October. And it literally is the unified theory of health. It explains why everyone gets sick and dies prematurely, that almost no one escapes it. I've uncovered these things. It took me 5 decades to figure it out. I've only refined it over the last year and finally put it together in this book. So let me give you some of the highlights and summarize it for you. And then I'll have an invitation for you, for each and every one of you. And you're going to give me the time so I know when I extend the invitation I can pivot. So, let me get there. Okay, U.S. medicine. How many prescriptions does the average person take in a year? Take a guess. 5. Good guess. That's probably what people say, and it's what's known. But if you do the numbers, let me see the numbers again. Actually, I'm going to enlarge this so I can see it. Slideshow. Wait, no slides. Sorry about this, because, oh darn. I'm almost there. From current slide, okay, good. Yes, now we got it. Almost, there we go, okay. Okay, I just want to make sure I have the numbers right. 6.3 billion prescriptions a year, every year in the US. How many people in the US? 330 million. That's 19 prescriptions per year for every person in the US. Now, I'm not taking any prescriptions, and I'm over 70. Most of you aren't taking them. Someone's taking our prescriptions, so there's more than that. It's probably 20 or more. We've got when I graduated medical school, we were spending less than $2 trillion a year. Now we're spending over $4 trillion per year. It's crazy. And now I'm not a problem. I have no problem spending money if you get a good ROI. But we're not getting anything. We have some of the worst health statistics of any nation on the planet. That's because of Rockefeller medicine. So when you eat food, here's the general theory of cellular health. The reason why you get sick and die prematurely is you are not making enough energy. You don't have enough energy so your cells can repair and regenerate themselves. And I'm going to disclose to you in a very brief time that I have the general concepts of why you don't make enough energy. Most of this is not known by any physician unless they've been reading my website. I'm serious. This is novel, new information. I'm using, it's not like I'm trying to say, I know something that no one else does, because this information is on the shoulders of giants. There are so many people before me who've done the hard work, and I've just taken it to the next level and put the pieces together. So the first thing is to understand how you get energy to begin with. You get it from your food. It all comes from the sun. The sun creates the sun's energy is converted to chemical bonds that we digest and take apart. And when you eat food, primarily fats and carbs, those are the two sources of fuel that we eat, it's broken down, it's digested in your stomach, the molecules are then transferred through your bloodstream through the cells in your body. And then when it gets to the cells in your body, what happens is you have this metabolic machinery that converts those molecules through some very sophisticated pathways. If anyone who's taken molecular biology or biochemistry knows, called the Krebs cycle and oxidative phosphorylation, and it converts these molecules into something called ATP. That's a short for adenosine triphosphate. That is the energy currency of your cells. That's how you move. If you don't have ATP, you are dead in seconds. There's this complex series in the mitochondria. Mitochondria are these subcellular structures within each and one of every one of your cells, except for red blood cells, that generate most of this energy. Within your mitochondria, there's these little mechanisms called electron transport chains that have complexes. And just to show you how quickly if you don't produce ATP, you die. Everyone's heard of cyanide, right? You see the spy movies, they say they crush the pill and they're dead in seconds, right? Do you know how cyanide works? Would you like to know? Cyanide works by binding to complex 1s in the electron transport chain. It stops. It stops. There's actually a molecule that many biohackers use, it's called methylene blue, that's the only known antidote for that. It's in every emergency room in the world. It will stop cyanide poisoning and carbon monoxide poisoning because it shuts down the mitochondria. If your mitochondria don't work, you do not live for seconds. If it doesn't work, you're dead. No way around it. That's how important they are. Now, these ATP molecules are very small. We make a lot of them. Do you know how many ATP molecules you make a second? In a second. Take a guess. A lot. Who said a lot? You're right. It's a lot. But how much is a lot? How about 200 million quadrillion? That's 200 or 2 with 18 zeros. That's in a second. Now, if you were to weigh those molecules, and molecules don't weigh much, but you weigh those molecules you make in a day, how much would that weigh? How much would that weigh? A lot. How about what you weigh? Someone said it. And that is if you are healthy. If you're not, you might make half your body weight. And most of us are making half our body weight. Would you like to know why? Okay, I'm glad you would like to know why. The main reasons, there's 3 reasons. And then all these 3 lead into another system. Vegetable oils. The main reason. I have a website. It's my last name, Mercola.com. I would encourage every one of you who haven't been there to go to the home page and click the video on linoleic acid, the most destructive component of anyone's diet. And you know, I'm a big believer in the precision of the universe. And also, a concept that W. Clement Stone, I'm so sure many of you have heard of him, who is from Chicago also, popularized. It's called the inverse paranoid. What does that mean? It means that many times we encounter circumstances. It seems like we shouldn't. Why did this happen? It's terrible. This unbelievable. Why? You're hitting a brick wall. And just angry because of it. So I had one of those this morning. And it relates to this. I'll tell you why. I was going to meet with Gary, who's our next speaker. And I had my breakfast with him. I had some really important things to talk about, which I'll share in a moment. And I brought my breakfast with me, which is 4 pounds or 5 pounds of watermelon. And I went out to the front desk, where's the breakfast thing? And I realized that my room card didn't work. And then I switched rooms. I came with a guest, and we had different rooms. And we switched rooms because she didn't have any smelling, and the room they gave me was full of mold, and it was a problem. So anyway, it was a complex thing. And I had to talk to the manager, and then they had to get security there and then go back to the room. And I get in the room, no problem. And then I walked back with him because I was going to meet Gary. And he was from the Philippines, and he said, he was commenting to me that he had just had a bypass, and 5 bypasses. I said, oh, that's a lot. That's more than normal. And I said, you doing okay? And we talked about it, and I said, would you like to know, but you do understand that they didn't fix the problem. You're going to still die, if not from that, from something else, because they never fixed what was going on. So I told him, very simply, and you can tell this to friends and relatives, you have to stop seed oils, or I told vegetable oils, what people understand. No vegetable oils. And I told him. I looked him in his eyes and I told him. He was from the Philippines, and I've got a company in the Philippines, and I've been there actually, and I know that coconuts are really big there. So he knew coconut oil. And that's what most Filipinos have, but they've been perverted, blackmailed, propagandized, brainwashed to not take those oils and butter. So the single thing that I gave him in a minute or so was to not eat seed oils. And that, I'm convinced, can change his life. And that was the reason I got locked out of my room, to make a difference to that one person. You can all do that. And what seems an inconvenience, probably for some other reason for it. So, seed oils. Look at my website for that one. Then the other thing is plastics. Why? We have it in my book. I talk about the statistics. This is so low. By 2060, it's anticipated that we will be producing every year how many pounds of plastic? How many pounds? A lot, you're right. But let's get specific. 1.3 billion tons. Now, when I wrote that number, the editor said, surely that must be pounds. I said, no, read the reference attached to it. It is tons. Now, understand that those plastics last for hundreds of years. Why are they dangerous? Because they activate estrogen receptors. So this is why plastics are so dangerous. But also estrogen, any type of estrogen, there is no reason for that. That will destroy your mitochondrial function prematurely. It will contribute to cancer, heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, obesity. That's what they do. And the last one is EMFs. And they, interestingly, all have similar functions. They increase the amount of calcium ions inside your cells, which causes two things: a release of two other molecules called superoxide and nitric oxide that instantly combine to form another free radical that decimates cell function. They all do it the same way. They activate different receptors to get there, but they're all the same mechanism. Okay, thank you. All right. And then it causes, the big thing is, if you don't have mitochondrial function, you're unable to remove oxygen from your intestine. And then you have bacteria growing that shouldn't be there. Most of the bacteria is in our colon. And there are good bacteria, beneficial bacteria, and there's bad bacteria or that are pathogenic disease-causing bacteria. And you kill the good bacteria because the good bacteria die when they're exposed to oxygen. And they're replaced. Nature abhors a vacuum. They're replaced with the bad bacteria. And why is this so important? Because I wrote a book called The Fat for Fuel, which advocated and promoted a low-carb approach. First of all, completely recognize that low carb will help many people because it gives less fuel to feed the bad bacteria. And the bad bacteria make a substance called endotoxin, which kills you prematurely. And this is the reason why everyone gets destroyed earlier, because this whole process is cycling. And this is, okay, let me see. Okay, so what do? Let me tell you the bottom line. We win. I know we win. But we have to be diligent and vigilant about this. And I've developed a process that allows it to do that. I've been passionate about technology and health for 50 years. And I put together not only this book, but this book has the details that you can get, but also there's other components to it. There's a coach, a health coach, that will create an environment to allow people to participate and essentially be treated virtually or with human coaches. And we're developing a whole clinic system. When I developed my clinic in Chicago, Chris had said, referenced a website, and I love technology. I was one of the first physicians online. That's why I had the biggest platform. I've treated hundreds of millions of people, helped across the world, hundreds of millions, unquestionably. That's not enough. We need billions. Billions if we're going to make a dent. And I've got the process to do that. When I opened up my clinic after I started the website, I would fill the clinic. In 2 weeks, I would fill it for a year. Now with this new system, I know not 10 times, but 100 times more about how to restore health than I did then. And I have the platform to do that. So this system will allow us to create a network that will help people inexpensively, because if you're going to treat people for health, you can't, there is almost no room for profit and margin. And I go on for hours about this. It almost has to be done for free. It's a philanthropic component. And Gary, who's the next speaker, is committed to that, as many of you know. He's in a phase of his life where he's in that mission. And we had breakfast this morning. I was able to have breakfast with him, thankfully. And we have a tentative agreement. He's coming down to my clinic that I'm opening for the first time. I have not seen patients for almost 20 years. I'm not seeing patients, but my army is going to see patients that I'm training with these tools that will give them the knowledge from this book. And Judge talked about his book with 2,000 references. I have 3,000 references, but it's even better. It's even better. These references are linked to PubMed. The entire full text article. The technology I've developed allows all those words, 25 million words, which would be a lot of volumes of books, right? That's all engaged in the technology I developed, and we have a global patent on, that's going to allow you to seamlessly engage with this conversation in real-time emotional conversation and ask it any question. It's a technology that's going to upend entire educational problems. And it goes, entire educational system, kindergarten, postgraduate, the whole system. And instead of one-to-many, it's one-to-one, individualized, customized, infinitely patient. So there's a version of this book that we're working on, will be out maybe later this year, that you can just engage in dialogue with. And it's a professional reference guide. So now, normally I said that EMF is a problem, right? Kills you prematurely. And typically in a presentation, I ask everyone to stand up, and I'm going to ask you to do that now. Doesn't that feel good? I think we've got a little leeway here because there's a coffee break after this, isn't there? All right, so that's good. Breathing deeper now. So take up your phone. And normally I would say, look at your phone. If it's in airplane mode, sit down. Oh, look around. Look around. Okay? Now, I'm not suggesting you turn it in airplane mode yet. You can sit down, though. But isn't it interesting? EMF is a pernicious, pervasive toxin. It's silent. It's convenient as heck. Well, let me tell you one of the other things, too. One of the reasons I was censored was Google. They took me off of YouTube. And Bobby Kennedy the same day. I had 0 strikes. 0. They took us off in the morning, and by the afternoon, or later that morning, it was in all the media. It was obviously corroborated with. And they said they made a new rule that day that we broke because we did something in the past. They changed the rules. We sued them, and then we lost initially. We sent it to appellate court, the ninth appellate court in California. We lost 2, although one judge ruled with us. But I want to tell you, the reason I'm saying this is that Google is dead meat. You may know that they just had a lawsuit. The government declared them a monopoly. Yelp last week sued them for billions of dollars. There's going to be an avalanche of lawsuits against Google. They are gone. They are gone. That is something to celebrate. And it's not. So let me just finish this, and I'm going to get back to this, and I'm gone. Okay. Google's gone. Oh, the technology. Technology is my passion. I showed it. I was the first to come. I see things before they happen. That's why I can tell you, I know with confidence that we win. Part of the reason I know that is because we need collaborative information like the new AI tools. And that's one of the things that I'm excelling with, that I'm actually one of the global leaders in this movement. And we're bringing it for the good of people. So that's really, really exciting, and it's coming. So with your phones now, if you're interested, only if you're interested, this invitation I was saying, you can, I forgot the URL. Open your phones and go to a browser, but keep your out of airplane mode, okay? And go to a browser. Okay. And in your browser, type Mercola.com. Don't press enter. And then type /MHC, Mercola Health Coach. And then you can press enter. And then there will be a special invitation for you, because I may not be able to talk to people, that you can connect with. And if you're interested in more about this health coach system I refer to very superficially, and I wish I had an hour to talk about it, but I don't, and the clinic system and everything else, and opportunities to participate and be a part of the destruction of the conventional medical system and much, much beyond that, like replacing all plastics with biodegradable plastics. That's part of the system, and destroying industrial agriculture, too. That's a big part of it. You know, our goal is quite massive. We really intend on replacing upending the entire food system, because food is medicine. And you cannot be healthy without medicine. And understand, this knowledge is crucial, that if you're going to ever be healthy, you have to take control of the food that you're eating. And when you're in an environment like this, I was at the VIP speaker event last night. Everything they served there was destroying your mitochondria. There wasn't one healthy thing there, including the alcohol. Alcohol is a mitochondrial poison. There is not one good thing that alcohol does for your body. Maybe except as an antiseptic topically. That's it. That is a pack of propaganda lies that alcohol has a benefit. It does not. You can choose to have it. Everyone gets a choice. But don't delude yourself to think you're helping yourself. You aren't. Okay, with all that, I just am astounded and delighted to be here, and thank you for your attention this day.